This is the poetry reading and roundtable edition of People and Their Poems, hosted by Sandy Lee Carlson.
Thank you for joining People and Their Poems podcast and Orenaug Mountain Publishing for the August 2026 edition of our poetry roundtable. It's really great to have you here. I know we've got people from around the world, and it takes staying up or getting up to be a part of the conversation. So it means a lot that you're here. Thank you very much. We have the really good fortune today of having a Connecticut poet as our featured poet. That is the one and only Jack Sheedy, who's published memoirs, who's published journalistic works, and edits poetry for friends and others, and has published and read widely. Jack, thank you for joining us this afternoon. And when you're ready, if you would unmute and just share some of your poetry with us. We're glad to have you here.
I'm glad to be here and honored to be here, Sandy. It's always a pleasure to be on the same program with you. We've read together sometimes, and you invited me to your Woodbury events, and it's just fun to be with you. So I'm not sure where to start, but I thought I would start by reading a fairly new poem. Well, no, it's not that new. It was about 7 or 8 years ago I wrote this poem, but I want to preface it by reading something that I kind of copied from. I'm sort of a mimic in a lot of ways. And I read a poem when I was a teenager by Percy Bysshe Shelley. And I was new to poetry back then. It was not a class assignment or anything. We had moved from New Hartford to Torrington to a house that had been owned by a second cousin once removed from me, and she had been an English teacher, a literature teacher and poetry teacher, and she had this amazing library of poetry books, complete works of Wordsworth, Shelley, Keats, Coleridge, Byron, the whole thing, and it was a bonanza. I mean, she had these bookshelves just crammed with literature, free. We didn't have to pay for these books, and so I just accumulated them, and I just sort of appropriated a lot of them for my own personal library, which I still have some of them. And one of them was the complete works of Shelley. And I was just leafing through it, and I came across this sonnet. I'm sure you're all familiar with it, Ozymandias. And I just want to read that as an introduction to the poem I'm going to read that sort of mimics it, at least in the first line. Ozymandias by Percy Bysshe Shelley. I met a traveler from an antique land who said, "Two vast and trunkless legs of stone stand in the desert. Near them, on the sand, half sunk, a shattered visage lies, whose frown and wrinkled lip and sneer of cold command tell that its sculptor well those passions read which yet survive, stamped on these lifeless things, the hand that mocked them and the heart that fed. And on the pedestal these words appear. My name is Ozymandias, King of Kings. Look on my works, ye mighty, and despair. Nothing beside remains. Round the decay of that colossal wreck, boundless and bare, the lone and level sands stretch far away. And when I read that, I just burst into tears because that ending was so surprising and so emotional. And so, I like to copy things that have worked. And so the first line of this next poem, the first of my poem, sort of mimics the first line of Shelley's poem. And I also mimic Shakespeare later on in this poem too. I actually wrote this, it's called Birdsong is the name of the poem I'm going to read. I wrote it because a poet friend of mine was having a birthday, and his wife asked a bunch of poets to come. And in an email she wrote, come and bring a BRD poem. I thought she had misspelled the word bird. I'm thinking that, okay, this guy, I didn't know he likes birds, but I'll write a poem with a bird in it. Well, it turns out she meant birthday, BRD instead of DD. But I wrote a poem and it has a bird mentioned in it. It's called Bird Song. And pay attention to the first line. You'll remember it. You'll recognize it. I met a farmer with a wheelbarrow instead of I met a traveler from an antique land. I met a farmer with a wheelbarrow, hauling green branches and an oriole's nest from a lightning toppled pear tree in his orchard. Where are the tenants of that nest? I asked. Long flown, was the old farmer's terse reply. And down the path he trod, his back to me, a crumpled sun hat squashed upon his head, suspenders crisscrossed on his muscled back. How can you know? I asked. The storm was fierce, and have they flown from life or flown away? The barrow's metal feet clunked to a halt. The farmer gazed into a dying sun. A drop of sweat clung to his chin, then fell. His gray eyes looked straight past me, and he said, 4 months ago, an oriole from Belize migrated here and built this sock-shaped home. He sang all day until he found a mate, but never sang at night. The farmer chuckled. But then at dawn, his voice called out again, as though his mistress was dissatisfied, and flew to shriller, more insistent callers. At any rate, it's what I like to think. I like to think it's she who chooses him, who weaves this masterpiece of twigs and twine, hatches the eggs he richens with his lust, catches the insects for the fledgling young. You wonder where they are, these travelers, how they could still survive without this nest. And here the farmer sat upon the ground to tell sad stories of the deaths of things. You'll know they're gone when they are gone, said he. You feel it in the empty, quiet fields, the ghost of thunder at the close of day, the breeze that slaps you rudely on the cheek. She's gone, he said. Been gone 2 years or more. I woke one day and called her name. No answer. That's how it is sometimes. A leaf dropped down. The farmer scarcely noticed, sitting quiet. You think you hear her answering, he said. It's just the brook that warbles in the eddies, a rabbit rustling in an open field, or it's the skylark, not the nightingale. It sings at dawn, a gritty, throaty trill, and then it's gone, leaving the night still. I read a book a few years ago. Can you see this? I can't see my own picture. So anyway, it's a biography of Hemingway. And it was such a good book, but it fell apart while I was reading it. And so I kind of wrote a poem about the falling apart book. It's called On Reading Baker's Hemingway. Someplace in 1941, your spine weakened, pages bulging with life tore loose in mid-sentence somewhere in Manila. Papa, you broke in half before I finished reading that the bell of did not toll until later, when more pages would tear loose, weakened by dry attic storage, unable to keep it all together. What can I make of this? Such a big life. Even the fragments must be delicately held. The more the naked pages reveal you to me, the more fragile you become. Il faut d'abord durer, you always said. One must, of course, continue. But when I gently turn your last dangling page, scatter itself like dry leaves. All right, I'll cut it short. I'll just read one more. And then we can open it up. Another Hemingway poem. My wife, Patty Martin, says that this is the best poem that I've ever written, but she hasn't read them all. So, so I don't know. This is, as you know, Hemingway was he was an ambulance driver in the war in Italy in the 20s. And so this is called Hemingway Returns to Fasalta, 1922. That old dead town had dignity, he thought. As if it died for something, he told his bride. How dare they build it back with smirking plaster, as if gaudy paint could hide the spurt of blood, staccato of Gatling gun, icy hot numbness in his knee, the day he carried an Italian to safety at the edge of this river 4 years ago, then collapsed, covered in Italian blood mingled with his own, the first American wounded in Italy in this war. In time, he will recapture it in books, the scream of surgery, stench of gangrene, the nurse who sneaked him brandy and kisses, but offered her arms only in farewell. Chasing yesterday's as a bum show, he told his bride. Even the shell-shot trees have healed. The Piave is calm and azure. A barge moves upstream. He bends to hold a rusty shell fragment, feels the twinge in his knee that will never go away. That's my homage to Papa Hemingway. All right, I'll read one because this was, I read this one. All right, this is, I just wrote this in June, a month and a half ago. It's called Special Providence. So this is one of my later poems. And there's an epigraph. There is special providence in the fall of a sparrow. If it be now, 'tis not to come. From Hamlet. These gem-like June mornings, the hammock is both net and nest. It gathers hemlock cones, overnight droppings of twigs, whatever filters from hanging branches, the daily detritus caught before landing on earth. To lie in the hammock, I must first flip everything out, wondering how it all collected there. Today, surrounded by wing-shaped maple seeds, a sparrow rests, its matted feathers flattened, eyes tight, beak a blunt dagger, claws caught in blue fabric. No predator killed this sparrow, no cat, no hawk, no owl. Did it spot food in a safe-seeming place? Flutter down from the maple? Trap itself in the hemp-held nest? Death took all answers away, all except one. Its providence was now.
All I can say, Jack, is wow, you amazing, absolutely amazing.
Thank you. Well, thank you. I don't know how to react, except that's music to my ears. So
I think that's a pretty good reaction right there, Jack.
Thanks, Ed. So I'll take questions or comments.
I love both the Hemingway poems very much. The second one, some of it was so visceral for me. I could feel it on the hair on my arms.
Wow.
Yeah, it was weird. And the first one, there was a line that I absolutely loved. It was something like, Papa, your pages tore loose somewhere near Manila. I'm not getting it exact, but it was something like that. I thought that was so cool, that sort of bringing a,
That is literally where the book fell apart. I could show you that. I could open it to that part.
It's and so cool.
He was in Manila at the time. So,
yeah. So it was really nice.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And the reference to the nurse offering her hand as farewell, in turn referencing his most famous work, Farewell to Arms.
Yes.
That was wonderful. And I think the way you frame the sentence that the hammock could be a net or a nest.
Yes.
That was
A
beautiful.
little foreshadowing of what.
Wonderful image.
Thanks. Thanks so much.
I liked the first poem a lot. I mean, I liked it all together, but I also liked the little addition of the wheelbarrow seeming to have life as it clunked down.
Yeah. It's carrying the remnants of life anyway.
Yeah.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Yeah, Jack, I wanted to say the line about sneaking him brandy and kisses, but offering her arms only in farewell.
Mm-hmm.
In true Jack Sheedy style, you said so much there about the longing and the isolation at the same time, and
Right.
the chasm between human beings that can't always be crossed.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I just amazing. So thank you so much.
Yeah.
It's this your style, this classic poetry style that you don't see a lot anymore, is just marvelous.
Yeah, and I'm drawn to that because it's the poetry that I grew up with, I guess. I have written more modern style poetry, more a different genre. You know, the blank verse, the free verse. I use that too, but I just like the rhythm of iambic pentameter and the narrative style of poetry. It's just what I enjoy doing, but I try to branch out and do other stuff too.
Well, thanks for that, Jack. I don't want to say your name right. Gopal, is that the correct way to say it?
Yes, you have correctly spelled Gopal.
So would you have a poem that you'd willing to share with us as we go around the group for each of us to read one of our poems?
This from my book, Crossing the Shoreline. One short poem. The title of the poem is Traverse. They say an empty road always exchanges pleasantries, memories, smells, regiments of ants and fireflies. Hushed, fresh dust over volcanic slabs, shadows here move to branches, scrubbing the rock surface. Now everyone knows it has been years since it invites convoys and lorries, cars and carts. Naked children still roam on the barren field under a gray sky speckled with corroded spots. Don't let the road rollers fool you. This is the road constructed on unheard graves during the war. Grief wounds the previous life, words fed words, the last warmth of the gaslights, bodies slip long and deep. Freedom is still a revolving truth, a flickering secret that fixes a spike in the rib cage. Eyes go low and muted forever. Thank you.
You had so many great lines in there. It was such a beautiful poem, and the image of the road constructed on graves. But you had an adjective in there, right? What kind of graves?
Yeah, volcanic slabs. I mean, that's the rocks, basically volcanic rock. Yeah, rock slab.
And the idea of freedom as a revolving truth.
Yeah, because this poem is, it's the place which actually the road was earlier used for war, and all the ammunition, those are moving along the road. But now everything has changed. But still, the people who have remembered those days, they feel that about the churning about the freedom that war has been fought, and there's a freedom both there. So that's why they are remembering that. So that's the idea behind it. So, yeah.
I love the line, bodies sleep long and deep.
Yeah,
And I
yeah,
also
yeah,
thought the ending was very beautiful too. I thought it really brought the
yeah,
poem where it needed to.
yeah.
So nice job.
Right.
Well, thank you very much. Prith Vijit, would you read?
Hello, everybody. The poem that I'm going to read today is actually divided into two parts. So there's a point and there's a counterpoint. Short poem. Once again, I wanted to shed a light on how urban, modern development, so to speak, or construction is taking away all the natural verdure and greenery that we so crave and love and adore. At least that's the case for me. So a few listeners may remember I recited a poem called Bird Call last year at around the same time. So this is like a companion piece to it, but it's completely different in what it tries to address. It's about a more aggressive kind of commercialization of green space, the green cover. So urban. I will not go back to my former self or speak much. The paved paradise, put up a parking lot, blares, always endlessly prescient, as tin-roofed blue bruises and brown-tanned inflammations of architecture grow out of 250 years of crestfallen nostalgia. Once a sight to behold, 'tis now a wasteland, carrying unfinished theses about dry grasses that will hardly grow green again. Everything about this place makes me go to the edges of my sane house. Everything about the etymologies of the natural and the pure go towards gluttonous pockets as they finance an economy of utter, unauthorized ugliness. I look at you, you storied, eternal child of red blushes, oh dear bridge. Like a dead monolith, hard times veil your ancient face that till yesterday was proud in its enduring, amazing grace to everyone. Those kinds of days are here. You and I are traveling theists of nature, now living in a city unfolding like a scorched after story. So fasten your seatbelts and harden your heart, my beloved. Our city is now a rose in the desert. And now the counterpoint. Hibiscus, a searching for hibiscus. It is a man's world. So I'll take to the road, searching for hibiscus and siding with their gardeners of good faith. Always look for hibiscus when hellfires wear the bands of August and September, and the sun comes out to turn into a sad reveler of photosynthesis. Always look for them. They are not extinct, not until we hand them over to bowers grown tall with dead grasses. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Wow, that was beautiful. Absolutely
Yeah.
beautiful. The music
really
of
good.
that poetry was amazing. The word choice, the description, fantastic.
Thank you.
I was jotting down some of the phrases that you were using, like inflammations of architecture. Is that one? Is that what?
Yes.
I love that.
Thank you.
I can't read my own writing. Oh, something about my sane house. The edges of your sane house, right?
The edges of my sane house.
edges
Yes.
Yeah. Great. And unauthorized
Ugliness.
unauthorized ugliness.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
It's just
Yeah, there's so much of
Brilliant
that. There's so much
phrases.
of that in your work. It's just
Yeah.
it's terrific.
Thank you. And I also referenced a Joni Mitchell song, Big
Yes.
Yes Taxi, in those
Yes.
lines. So that's universal in the sense that all of you know that song, I know that song. So
yeah.
that's like a universal binding thread too.
Really liked that reference. And like Jack, I wrote down the utter unauthorized ugliness. Also, crestfallen nostalgia. That's to me such an interesting concept. And unfolding like a scorched understory. Man,
Yeah.
that was like,
Yeah.
whew,
I wrote
Yeah.
that down too.
whoa, beautiful.
Thank you.
Just
Thank you.
beautiful. Whew.
And there's a correlation that your nation is celebrating 250 years of its foundation as a republic. And my city, Lucknow, also celebrated 250 years as a cultural epicenter since it became the capital of the state of Uttar Pradesh. And it has also now received the honor of being the gastronomic city under UNESCO. So, kind of parallel is running between your provenance and mine.
Yes.
That's exciting, Prithviji. That really was beautiful poem. And it really actually made me think of my recent trip to Ireland, and and the excavations going on where the Vikings settled. And what's crazy is the Irish are very generously rehabilitating the Vikings. They're finding dog bones, meaning bones of dogs, not their treats. So the Vikings had dogs. They couldn't have been all bad, right?
Right.
But the idea, this I caught that too, the scorched after story, but the hibiscus, searching for hibiscus, this idea that this yearning for beauty, and
Mm.
that is, I think, what your part of the world does and what your city does. And when that is the impulse, look what's possible. Great poetry. Thank you.
Yeah.
Sharon, would you read for us next?
This is a really short poem, and I just started it yesterday, and I was working on it 5 minutes before I called in, so it's obviously not complete, but I thought I would give it a go anyway, because it was inspired by watching Sandy and Jack on Sandy's podcast, People and Their Poems. And I just watched it yesterday morning, and it just triggers some thoughts for me. So thank you guys for the inspiration. It's called Why I Write. I write because in the reaching of it, I examine the world and myself. I become more aware of what I feel, why I feel it. The search for words slows me down, soothes my impatience. Getting it precise, distilling thoughts into words, trying to land at the very center of it. And when I'm able to get it down to its essence, nothing missing, nothing extra, it's so satisfying. Writing helps me feel completely alive, all the way down to my bones. Thank you.
Thanks, Sharon. That is the experience. It's so hard if somebody takes our pens away, right?
That resonates with all of us writers, I think. The search for words slows me down. Of course, who was it who said that a writer is someone for whom writing is more difficult than the average person?
It's probably true.
Yeah, more difficult. Writing, a writer should have, you would think a writer would be proficient and it was easy to write, but it ain't easy. Not when you want to get it right. Finding the right words is not. It's not a walk in the park,
Mm-hmm.
I love how you the phrase, you examine the world and myself by writing.
Thank you, Jack.
So, yeah.
I think, Sharon, this poem is very introspective. You are asking question inside. So I feel that it's a very introspective poem and very incisive also, especially the ending.
Thank you,
Well,
Gopal.
thank you. Yeah.
Sharon, I think you know something that strikes me about your poems is the energy and the energy that you bring to the writing and the questions. There's a candor and a courage that make me feel like I can ask those questions and I can give it a try, and it's a permission as a reader to just kind of get caught up with that breeze that you create. And anybody, as Jack said, who's picked up a pen knows it ain't easy, but you create that sense of movement and as if it were easy. And it's part of the joy of your poetry, so I really appreciate that.
Thank you so much, Sandy. That means the world to me. Thank you.
Charlotte, would you read next?
This is called Big Al's Hammer. Big Al steps so softly, quietly. You hear a lot about him, but you can't hear him coming. Walking down the street, Big Al has a hammer hanging ready on his belt. Big Al sneaked up on great-grandmother Adelaide. Went to visit at Great-Grandpa Laird's old place. Took up residence with Grandmother Dorothy. Grandma Emma said her father took 5 years to die. It was Big Al's line of work, I later learned. My child's mind did not understand it. The day Grandma mistook my husband for my father, told him, "That big black beard of yours looks terrible." I began to understand the taking 5 years to die. It was Big Al, Then coming with his hammer, giving little taps upon her skull. Big Al's aim is not precise, but he's persistent. Grandma held on stubbornly for many, many years, till her skull held broken wires, nothing more. Grandma was so old, but my father wasn't. He'd sit watching news for 30 minutes, unable to explain what it was he'd seen. One day on the telephone, he had a lot to say. He introduced a subject, let it follow to the next. I felt so hopeful seeing his old self come back. Before I found a way to say anything more, he introduced a subject, same as before, followed by the second, same as before. My mother in one hospital, my father in another. I tell him, the nurse says, it's time for a new place. He says to me, just call my wife. She takes care of things. Over at the memory care, he forgets a silly detail. Looking right at me, he says, this is so embarrassing. I just had to be glad he didn't know the half of it. Dad was about the age I am now when Big Al's hammer first showed up. This could lead one to wonder. Walking down the street, Big Al has a hammer hanging ready on his belt. Big Al steps so softly, quietly, you hear a lot about him, but you can't hear him coming.
Wow.
I wrote that after an exceptionally bad week.
That really, for me, really hits close to home. My mother had dementia before she passed, and my mother-in-law now we're dealing with her dementia. So it's a wonderful description, and it hits very close to home. So thank you.
You're welcome.
It's very moving without being maudlin at all. You keep it so I can feel it and not feel sorrow as much as empathy. You know what? I don't know quite how to say it, but it's really a wonderful poem, I think. And I loved been coming with his hammer, tapping on skulls. That whole image of tapping on skulls and how he takes time and it's really brilliant, I think. I love it. Thank you.
I'm glad you got that sense of how it is without, like, I forgot how you phrased it, but you got what I was trying to do.
The references of the hammer were also quite gothic in nature to me. To me, it sounded like a gothic tale. And I think a kind of horror and a kind of, fear dawns upon someone who's dealing with another person, with a condition like dementia or something like that. There's always this fear of loss. So I think for me, The Man with the Hammer was also infused with a lot of Gothic references. And thank you for that. But it was a very moving portrait indeed.
I've got to ask who heard the pun in it. Big Alzheimer, big Alzheimer.
Mhm.
Oh, of course.
Definitely
Thanks,
got
Shirley.
that. Definitely.
So, the first time through, you're paying attention to every syllable that sometimes, whoo. Thank you, Charlotte. Amazing.
Thanks.
Really very moving.
Thank you.
Roger, would you like to go next?
Sure. I really enjoy this space because it's so nice to be in a space where there's a lot of room between each poem and people have an opportunity to react instead of next, which is really horrible. So thank you, Sandy, for setting this up this way. I really appreciate that.
You're welcome.
So for those of you that don't know, I live in a small town in an agricultural area in the Sacramento Valley. And I'm going to read about a journey I took in Eastern California and Western Nevada, sort of an area that I wouldn't say is green, but is certainly remote and rural and beautiful. The desert is certainly beautiful in its own way. Right on Highway 6, heading north on a Sunday, 50 miles south of Lone Pine, ridge of volcanic rocks to the east, Sierras to the west, sagebrush desert littered with lava boulders, first Mammoth ski resort billboard, followed by many others. Stream of cars with ski racks head south, filled with people in the latest ski fashions. LA to Mammoth on Friday, Mammoth to LA on Sunday. Local radio stations mention the Eastern Sierras almost as a footnote after Mammoth Mountain. Snow-capped, glacially carved Sierras rise behind Alabama hills, glowing in the afternoon sun, looking like cutouts against dark blue sky. Fond memories of hidden alpine lakes and meadows at the end of twisty mountain roads. Turn right onto 6 East in Bishop, away from Mammoth, away from traffic, volcanic tablelands to the west, White Mountains to the east, scattered ranches, irrigated fields, gray clouds spreading over snowy boundary peaks. Hear the thunk of the cattle guard as I cross into Nevada, begin the climb to Montgomery Pass. No water to support homesteads, sagebrush yields to pinyon and juniper nourished by winter snow. Approaching the top of Montgomery Pass, see cluster of abandoned buildings, restaurants, hotels, houses, cabin, casino, bordello, shuttered but in charming decay. At one time, a popular spot for sportsmen and long-term truckers traveling through to the Eastern Sierra. At 7,149 feet, once the world's highest casino, burned and abandoned in 2010. Drop into a basin on the edge of central Nevada, salt flats, sand dunes, sagebrush vistas, hills of sandy soil overlying volcanic tuff, stripped away by wind, flash floods, mining, exposing a kaleidoscope of colors, orange, dark brown, white rock layers. High desert valleys nestled between towering peaks, fog shrouds, distant wilderness areas, remote and rough land, stark beauty, few cars, no cars with ski racks. Thanks.
I'm from California. I love it. You got the colors and the shapes.
Roger, it's just like a very vivid portrayal because I am basically an art scientist, so I can imagine those you are describing these volcanic mountains and and then the desert of Nevada, Eastern Californian mountains. So it's quite excellent.
Thank you.
It's just a visual feast.
Delight.
It's a feast of visual, mostly visual.
Right.
And it reminds me, I drove across country a few years ago, and I did drive through deserts. I didn't go where you went, but I saw tumbleweed rolling, blowing in front of my car a couple of times. I saw distant mountains that just stayed where they were, even until I was right on them, and they just, instead of smacking into them, it just went on either side of me. But my brother went on a trip. I think he may have gone to the same area as you, but it was in the winter, and when he was climbing the hill, there was a jackknife tractor trailer. But anyway, the imagery, the billboards, the cars, the Mammoth Mountain, the cutouts against the sky, volcanic table lamps, just beautiful imagery.
Well, thank you, Jack. That means a lot. It means a lot to me, given the beauty of your poetry. So I appreciate that.
Well, thank you. It was just a feast of. I was right next. I was in the passenger seat with you when you did this. When you read that, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Roger, I'm always struck by how much you love place and capture it with such fidelity, and capture the human impact on that place also with fidelity, and not always a good thing necessarily. The casino burning at 7,000 plus feet, it just says the landscape becomes a character in a story, and it's a beautiful character. So thanks for that.
Thank you, Sandy. And for those that don't know, Sandy has read a lot of my work because she published a book for me. So, which I greatly appreciate. And there's a lot more of that in my writing, since I'm from this area. So anyway, thank you.
John, did you care to read?
Yes, thank you. Thank you. I just had it on mute. I'm sorry about that. Yeah, the name of my poem is A Walk in the Woods. I walk the well-worn gravel path under the cool shade of pine and elm. I breathe in the scent of moist tree bark and sweet, oozing pine sap. Of acorns and pebbles crunch under my tattered boots. The call of the wood thrush and the song of the black-capped chickadee ricochet against the highest branches. The brook and the trees remember my footsteps. When I once ran through this trail as if it were endless, not listening to the pitched chatter of forest animals and the brook burbling downstream. The wind, earth, and sky know that I am part of and from them. I breathe in the cool, rain-rinsed air, sprinkle of water droplets from dew-soaked leaves. I turn to see the distant path behind me, the hills I climbed, the places where I stumbled at the trail's end. I see more sunlight beyond the trees, content to carry the mud on my boots, the sprinkle of pine needles in my hair, knowing the earth, wind, and sky will remember me by the soft print of my tattered boots in the wet gravel.
Thanks, John. And there's always this serendipitous thing that happens when this group gets together. And, Roger's, I feel like I'm not sure where you are, but that could be Connecticut. We've had so much rain,
I'm in Connecticut, yes.
Okay. Recognize the birds and the trees there, John. So we are a character, I think the thing is we separate ourselves from nature as outsider and as actor instead of participant, So thank you for that. It was really great.
I love the last line too. The last line was just so good. And it was such an interesting way to end it because it kind of turned to something that we hadn't been a different way. It was led us to something else that was really, I thought, excellent.
Thank you. Thank you.
And like Roger's poem, you have images, not just visual, but smell, sound, touch. You feel the rain. You've got multiple sensory images in there, and I could feel them, and I could hear the birds. I could see the sunlight, and it was just wonderful. I thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Another group I'm in calls that, the whole cheeseburger. You have it all. You have it all in there. It's just lovely, lovely imagery. I loved it, John.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thanks, John. Ed, did you have a poem?
This is called Paintversation. The artist before the canvas slouches slightly, sketchbook in his right hand, brushes in his left. The canvas, reclining on the easel, faces him, its colors slowly drying. Are we done? Asked the canvas. I haven't felt your brush lately. I don't quite know, says the artist. I like this place, the greens, the glow of the sun, says the canvas. I do too, but something is missing. Canvas asks, are we done? Maybe, maybe not. The light needs to be just right. The canvas peers at the artist top of a brush in his teeth. Don't sigh at me, I'm thinking, he says to the canvas. The sun is setting behind you. The artist turns. So it is, he says. He turns back, looks right, then left. He peeks over the top of the easel. Ah, that's just what we need. The canvas giggles as the brush leaves streaks of yellow here and there. The painter smiles at the canvas. It's done, he thinks, and sets to head home. Thank you.
I love that, Ed. A conversation with a canvas.
Yeah.
Thanks. Yeah.
No, really, it's original, and I think it's an actual thing. I mean, the canvas has to speak back to you, and just like the blank page that you're typing on, or whatever, the screen that you're typing into talks back to the writer.
Yeah, it's a description of the creative process. It's marvelous.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. And it's amazing, Sandy, like you said, is the poetry today has been so good, and none of us have talked to each other, and yet there's such a wonderful synergy, just a wonderful relationship in what was read today, which is just marvelous.
Ed, I love this poem. I love that the canvas talks. I absolutely love it. And I love that the artist said, don't sigh at me. I love it that they almost have I don't know, an interesting relationship. They quarrel a little. And I agree, Roger, it is the creative influence. And you do kind of get pissed when something is asking you for more. I mean, it's wonderful, Ed. It's my favorite poem I've heard you read. It's just wonderful.
Thank you.
And was it inspired by Amy's dad's work?
Yeah, that was an aphrastic piece that I tried to do in a different way. We had gotten a couple of lists of National Poetry Writing Month. They passed around a list that one of the founders of that had developed, and so I tried a little personification on this one.
Those prompts, like ekphrastic poetry, they're so helpful for taking you out of your shtick, the thing that you do when you write a poem, they're really, really terrific. And I think whenever we do ekphrastic stuff, you always do that surprising thing, like when we've done them at Flanders Nature Center, just taking in the whole array of art and what are these paintings saying to each other from across the room, like people in a bar or something. Well, thank you. I'd like to read one as well. and it was one that I got stuck, and Robert Frost kind of helped me out when I was a kid. One of my favorite poems that he wrote was To Earthward. And I had committed it to memory, and a line, love at the lips was touch as sweet as I could bear. And once that seemed too much, I lived on air that crossed me from sweet things. And it goes on from there. And when you're an adolescent, you think everything's about death, and maybe it was, I don't know, but it inspired me. And I was thinking about Frost because when I was in Ireland, friends took me to the Kennedy family's ancestral farm, and it's pretty awesome. And there in the museum portion, there's this incredible photo of Robert Frost talking to Jackie Kennedy. And of course, she looks as elegant as can be in this incredible gown. And they're so engrossed in their conversation with each other. And Jack Kennedy is engrossed in whoever he's talking to. And made me cry. I thought, okay, this is a country that appreciates poetry. Jack Kennedy brought back that, so elevated Frost at his inauguration. And yeah, it was great. They also have the Morris Minor seat that was in the house of JFK's cousin, where he stopped for tea. And she had bought the car seat at a charity shop so she'd have a couch in her house. And that was the seat he sat on, and there it was in the museum. And you gotta love Ireland, you really do. And the teacup was there too that he drank out of. It says, ever earthward. I lived on air that crossed me from sweet things, the scent of lilac and honeysuckle, all romance and dreams of distant unions, gathered hopes dripping dew on the knuckle. May's fleeting sweetness recalled far-off joy, a raft adrift on a leaf-shadowed stream, adrift on lazy current toward the sea, the light of solitude, a single sunbeam. Rhododendron bouquets blossom, late May, mountain laurel in June, white wedding cakes. Time, stand still, let me breathe the joy of life, knowing beauty thrives in the time we take. Cool springs slow the time that it takes to blossom, and the dreams of love, a time yet to come. Thank you.
Brava.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
A little pre-wedding poem, I guess.
Dew on the knuckle. That's Frost.
Yep.
I recognize that one, that part.
Good lines.
Yeah. Just the older I get, and the beauty of each season, and it was actually during COVID, walking in the woods all the time, and the ephemerals are constantly dying, and new ones are coming up, before there's the full canopy, and you realize fall isn't just one hunk of time in the year, that life rises and falls continuously, and it's quite a beautiful thing, nothing to fear,
I love the knowing beauty thrives line. I thought that was wonderful. And I loved dreams of distant meetings. That concept of distant meetings, I don't think I've ever heard those two words together before. The whole thing was beautiful, Sandy. Thank you.
Thank you.
This has been People and Their Poems. Glad you could join us. If you'd like to know more about what we do, please visit our website at OrenaugMountainPublishing.com. Check out our poetry anthologies and learn how you can take part in an upcoming collection. And learn more about our services. Let us help you publish your next book. Once again, this has been People and Their Poems, presented by Orenaug Mountain Publishing. Have a great day.